Welcome to the next in the StrainSense how-to video series. In this video we'll show how to use OxygenNet to synchronize multiple DEVI2 instruments in a master and slave topology. In this example we have a DEVI2 PA7 power analyzer, which is the master, and a DEVI2 A4 portable acquisition system, which is the slave. We have a TRION-SYNC-BUS cable and a LAN data cable between the two instruments. We'll now look at the setup of the A4 in Oxygen. In the OxygenNet page we can see the A4 is an available node. Auto setup is used on the A4. This means that the TRION-SYNC-BUS input from the master will synchronize the timing. In the settings page we see have OxygenNet enabled and we allow claim. Now let's look at the PA7 Oxygen setup. Here we can see the input modules on the PA7 consisting of power modules, voltage input modules, CAN input modules, base modules for digital input. So we have a three-phase power group setup. Let's look at the OxygenNet settings for the PA7. We can see the PA7 is a local node and the A4 is available. We then look at sync settings. The PA7 has auto setup used, and this uses the TRION-SYNC-BUS to synchronize the network. IRIG and PPS can also be used with external inputs. We now look at the settings page, and OxygenNet is enabled and allow claim is not enabled. This means that the PA7 will always be the master. To set up the network we simply click on claim on the A4. It then brings that instrument into the OxygenNet system. We can now look at the channel inputs and we see that the A4 is now listed in the system settings. We can see when we click on the A4 we can see individual modules, so we have two high voltage modules, 8 channels per module, and we can actually go into the individual modules and configure settings in the module. In this example we can configure the input range across that module. So this is using OxygenNet to configure settings on the slave unit. We'll now look at the settings for real-time display. Here we have a chart recorder. At the moment this is showing 4 input channels from the master unit. This is 4 high voltage channels. We can also select input channels from the slave unit, so we've added in 2 additional high voltage channels. We can also save the complete configuration consisting of both the PA7 master and the A4 slave unit. On the toolbar in Oxygen we get an indication that synchronization is present. This is between the master and the slave unit. We can then start recording. The system is now recording data from both the PA7 master and the A4 slave to the PA7. It's also recording onto the A4 for redundancy. And when we stop recording, that stops recording across the network. We can now open the recorded data file, and we can see we have data from both the PA7 master unit and the A4 slave unit within a single data file, so we can view all data concurrently. This has been an example of using OxygenNet to synchronize multiple DEVI2 instruments. For further information please contact StrainSense.